It's October the 22nd, 2025, and you know why you're here, so let's kick this off right and introduce the players. Hey, I'm Gerissar, a Wowie sports aficionado.
Apparently. Hey guys, it's Bigmoran. I'm a anti add-on Andy. Try saying that 5 times fast. And Jake is not here. He's off fighting various wars. So
Yeah,
we're told, you know, serving his country.
is no, he's not. No, unless you consider Legion Remix or Azeroth fighting wars. Jesus. No, Jake, hopefully he's okay. I'm guessing he's probably sleeping because, being so far ahead and whatnot, and usually he ends up having to wake up pretty early in the morning. So, but yeah, it's just the two of us, which is fine. Big. I gotta, dude, I love following you on socials and that, but what's with these stories?
I'm a role player at heart. So this is my Twitter role play. And this is part of the RP.
Oh my gosh. But did it have to be a Toyota Prius? Did it have to be?
It didn't, and you know what? Actually, the Toyota Prius is one of my dream cars.
Really?
Yes, I think they're very economical. They have very low repair costs, and I think the new ones actually look really cool. I don't know if you've ever seen the more modern Priuses. They look pretty amazing.
No.
Um, well, yeah, they look super. I mean, you'd be shocked. Like if you Google Toyota Prius 2025 or whatever 2024, be like, what the hell? That's a Prius?
I'm not going to do that only because I don't want to suddenly have the cookies on my computer and get inundated with all of the advertisements and everything else. I made the mistake of doing that when I found out about Polestar, and it took about 6 months before that disappeared from my phone. So I'm not going to do it. The only thing I know about Prius is how much a pain in the butt they are when I'm behind them trying to go off of a red light. And for an electric car, they're gutless and they move slow. And I just want to get out of the way so I can get to the speed limit and get home or get to work. One of the two. But just, yeah. Anyway.
Slow and steady wins the race, you know?
Tell that to a Void Walker or Void Weaver. On that news, so what have you been up to? What is the burn, aside from no add-ons, and I know that's a hot topic, but what's the burning thing on your mind? What have you been experiencing in the last couple weeks in World of Warcraft that makes you be like, I need to talk about this with Gerissar?
That's a good question. I mean, we did just see the Cup 3 of the AWC, and I've been following my friends who are competing, cats and dogs,
Mm-hmm.
and unfortunately they got knocked into the gauntlet, but they're the last team in the gauntlet, so at least
Yep.
they kind of have some advantage there. But it's been kind of interesting following them, closely, and I've actually been in their Discord calls, and it made me really realize that if you want to compete in these AWC tournaments, not only do you have to, have all the game knowledge, mechanical skill, all that sort of stuff, but also there's like this massive, like, social learning curve for being on a team like this. Like,
Really?
yeah, I mean, not to throw my friends under the bus, but I mean, there are some times where it's like, man, guys, cool off, like, because you're dealing with people who, highly competitive people, so of course there's going to
Mm-hmm.
be some friction at times. And yeah, what I learned is like, man, there's a social learning curve to competing in these tournaments. Like you have
Yeah.
to I mean, ultimately you're playing with other people, and so you have to learn how to play with other people in a
Mm-hmm.
stressful setting.
Yeah, I can see that. I guess also, you probably need to also have the social skills to have a pool of friends to team up with to war game to test things out. Because uh, playing on understanding like the game itself is the same game, but having access to all that gear, all those options, um, and then hopping into a war game, it feels different than when you're playing live. right?
Yeah, I mean
So
that's what Jax was telling me. He's saying how you can't practice for these tournaments by playing on, the retail
no,
servers. You
no,
have to play on the TR. Like, of course, there's tons of gear that people don't traditionally have access to in
yep,
PvP, and people are playing High Mountain Tauren, and for the versatility and the damage reduction, and it's just a completely different ball game. And he was
yeah.
also saying, like, even you know, even depending on where you are geographically, you might have to get used to like a different latency, um,
Yeah, I can see
which
that.
isn't which isn't that big of a deal these days, but it's still, I mean, it still does matter.
It does. Well, and I think that's the thing some people forget is like when you're used to playing at a certain, when your computer does certain things at certain times, you're used to like when you push a button that it reacts in a certain speed. If
Mhm.
suddenly you're like I've even noticed that. So when I'm playing on Cenarian Circle, I'm usually around from where I live, I'm about 75 milliseconds. But when I kick over to the Terminate Realm or if I hop on a Sargeras, I'm down to like 40 something. And,
Mm,
you know, that's 30 millisecond difference. That's actually kind of significant. Like, you wouldn't think it,
right.
but you feel it, right? So, yeah, I can totally see that. I did notice, like, so when I was playing on Cup 1, I was very quick in just making my characters.
Yeah.
And so I already had my Warlock still on there, so I had to, like, dump all the gear and get new gear. And I didn't even think about, so I think it was Toady when we were sitting there. He's like, we did a quick little war game or just like a duel in the area and had some fun. And he noted that I was wearing the war mode boots, and he's like,
Oh,
I'm like, oh, he's like, yeah, you need to put on the other boots, the ones that trigger your thing faster. I'm like, really? Like, I thought it was diminished enough. It does. He's like, it's still DPS, right? And it's more haste. I'm like, yeah, I don't think it's that much better. But it's really hard to tell because, again, you know this, like anytime when you're trying to compare two pieces of gear and one's PvP scaling, it doesn't look right until you actually get the gear to scale. And it's really hard to like tooltips get disabled and all this other stuff when you're in combat. So it's like, yeah, what do you do? So
yeah.
it was like 10 minutes before bracket time, like before the check-in close. I was like, bah, I don't care that. And then lo and behold, we're watching the AWC, and the first time a warlock showed up, I looked at the gear. I was like, dang it. I
Yeah, I
should.
mean these
uh
these TRs are an information race too. Who can discover the ring or the special cloak, special boots, whatever it is. There's always like a few random pieces like that you don't have access to on the retail game, but you do
yep.
on TR.
Yeah. As soon as it opened up, I happened to have, I think, the day off, and I hopped in there, and immediately there was a person, and their character name were all test. It was like test hunter, test mage, test warlock, and they geared up, and then they were just pounding the dummies just to figure stuff out. And I have no idea who they were, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't some Andy that was there just to get the banner like I was. So it's so here's a question though. How did you find Cup 3? Because I found with AWC with Cup 3, I was really so Cup 1 is always there's sometimes there's a bit of an upset, but usually ends up being like a big name team that they have the time to do the testing to figure stuff out. They're pretty hard, they're like the top tier, so like Echo, Dire Wolves, Welcome to the Jungle. Like you're almost guaranteed that they're going to win because they put in the work. They already know they're good to go. Cup 2 usually is a bit more of a settling, and then Cup 3 sometimes has a bit of an upset, but generally it ends up being like pretty settled that it's the big teams that win at the end. I personally found this Cup 3, like it was still any person's game, like especially on the NA side. Like I I had no idea who. Like, there's no expectation that Welcome to the Jungle was going to win to me. Like it felt almost like it was cutting edge no matter which way you looked at it. Did you feel the same way?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, I went into Cup Three thinking that Gators were going to win, because I do believe they won Cup One, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Um, and I think Welcome to the Jungle won Cup Two.
Mhm.
But I don't remember exactly what happened, but I remember vaguely remember that there was kind of like an evolution. There was like an arms race in the meta, uh, between how you handle Void Weaver Disc Priests.
Yep.
Um, so the you know obviously Gators back have a lot of comps they can play with that Void Weaver. Um, and Welcome to the Jung also can play Void Weaver too.
Hmm.
And I think it was just kind of like almost like a game of cat and mouse. Now what was interesting is, in the grand finals, uh, both teams played with holy priests, I believe, in every single game. Um, but yeah, I think in between Cup Two and Cup Three, there was, I think, this information battle of how to counter the Void Weaver Disc Priest, and
Yep.
that's why we saw a lot of the Assassination Rogue, Unholy DK, or
Yep.
DK DH. Like, these were specific comps to counter that Void Weaver.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, that's what my friends were having to deal with cats and dogs. I mean, they main Void Weaver, and that was their main comp. And now suddenly all these teams have these counter comps. And so it was
Yep.
kind of, they didn't know exactly what to do. So they were experimenting with, Boomkin and stuff like that. But yeah, on NA, I think it was anyone's game. I completely agree.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, even on EU, I could, EU is pretty close. I mean, Echo always manages to find their way into the grand finals,
Yep.
but yeah, Streamer Zone has like a very interesting roster this year.
Yep.
So yeah, and then again, it, it was all about dealing with that Void Weaver Disc Priest. Um,
Yeah. You think we're gonna see any nerfs before grand finals, or is it gonna be like after November that we might see that change?
that's hard to say. I mean, yeah, I if they want to nerf Void Weaver, they should probably do it now, right? Like before the
Yep.
gauntlet.
They should.
Um, it's funny. I actually don't mind Void Weaver that much. Like, I do think it's really strong, but I don't really care. To be honest. I mean, it is, I understand why people don't like it.
Hmm.
Um, I completely get it, but I think it's kind of cool. Like, kind of, that's different. We
Yeah.
haven't seen anything like this ever, so
Uh, Maybe
is
not
it
quite to this level, but we have seen it before with oppressive damage from a healer. I mean,
with the Fist Weaver? Yeah, but it's like Fist Weavers, they're punching you. Like, this Void Weaver
well,
is so. You,
we've
like, what?
had
What do you?
we've I thought we've had eras where Disc Priest was strong on its own, and but it had the mana problem where if you're running Disc, you had what, like 3 minutes, maybe five, and then you were tapped and done, right?
Yeah,
Versus this, I mean, we were watching 8-minute games with Void Weaver. Like, holy moly!
yeah. It's just a weird concept of a healer, because
Yep.
it's literally a DPS.
Yeah.
It's you you, of course, you're gonna press penance and shield and sometimes, but your goal is to press that mind blast, crank out those void blasts, and grow your orb, and just rinse and repeat. And so you
Yep.
kind of have to play like a caster. You just plant your feet and turret.
Which is funny because yes, there was some turning, but there's also some times when they were running around the pillar. I I'm sure there are some times that they wish they were playing a shaman and be able to ghost wolf around the pillar to dodge, because holy moly, there was
Yeah.
there's a lot of hit and run. But I don't know. So ultimately, though, I think this is probably one of the best AWCs I've seen in years. The games went a little long, but I'm kind of used to that, just with because the the players are so good. Like, there's rarely was there a mistake that I saw.
Right.
So And I'm always I'm not an expert whatsoever, so but they were playing so well that clearly they were ready for the cups and ready to play, and they were giving it their all, which is awesome. So, but yeah, again, shout out to Cats and Dogs. That's really amazing considering that like they just got together for this cup or for this tournament season, right? So,
Yeah.
like understanding they're all veteran players as far as ladder, but coming together pretty much for the first time for AWC and getting to the gauntlet is well done. That was really well done to
Hmm.
them.
Yeah, I agree.
Indeed. Well, so I want to talk for Remix. So I know it's not PvP. There's no PvP enabled in Remix. I'm a little bummed out about that. Not gonna lie. I wouldn't mind, but I get that the power scaling in it is so obtuse that like it just wouldn't be fair. So totally understand.
Yeah.
I still kind of miss a little bit of the PvP though. But man, that game is fun. Like just turn off your brain, run in, like crank out a shit ton of levels, get a whole bunch of power. Obviously there's some, some really grindy ways that you can just like, no life it for 48 hours and get yourself up to max power and just run through. But there's a couple times I was still leveling and I queued up for dungeons and just like queue up for your heroic. And we popped in. I was playing Demon Hunter. There was two other Demon Hunters. One was a tank, and literally I spent the whole time running trying to catch up to the tank. And like nobody else was like it was just that one person just ran the whole dungeon and we were just picking up loot behind them. It was crazy. But holy moly, is it fun. Have you gotten in there and played it yet?
I have not, no, but
Oh,
I've
dude.
heard good things about it, and I heard the transmog's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Good
I
transmog.
mean, maybe I'll give it a shot.
You gonna make a
I
Volpiro with me?
I can't, I could, but you can't let anyone know that it's me, you know.
Yeah. So if anybody's wondering, the other day, so I got my Demon Hunter almost to max level. I'm like, I want to make another. I'm gonna make another warrior because I only have one warrior on my account currently. So I was like, I'll make a second warrior, and then if they're good, maybe in during midnight, then I have like two warriors to play with instead of just one or whatever. So I made a Volpyria just because, well, because you have a certain reaction to a Volpyria warrior, don't you?
I it's an interesting dynamic. That
Yes.
but speaking of remix, by the way, I saw that people are doing like plus 98 keys or
Yep.
something on Mythic Plus on remix, which is quite nuts. Like triple tank teams.
Yep.
Um,
There's I think it was four tanks and a Havoc Demon Hunter was
sounds
the
good. That's
yep.
I
So that
mean,
should get fixed though. They just hot fixed where they added in some other buffs. So there's DPS I think does more damage. Healers they have more health and they do more healing and take less damage. So there's some survivability stuff there. Which I mean, when you're running when you're running a Legion Mythic plus key that's like in the double digit, like high double digits, like the 90s up to hundreds. Like, it's that so bonkers. The idea of it is so bonkers, but that's what people are doing because it's like infinite grind. Get all the currency, so then you can get all the stuff. I think it's like 9 billion bronze coins or something to get every single piece of everything.
mhm.
Like,
Yeah. That's what the reason why Mythic Plus is so it's you can
mm-hmm.
get the infinite power infinitely, I guess, with Mythic Plus. You can
Yeah,
continuously farm it.
yeah. It's the highest repeatable gainable gains. So that was kind of redundant how I said that, but yeah, it it's the it's a repeatable end game that has the highest return of infinite power and the bronze coins that you need for currency. So
Gotcha.
yeah, And apparently there is also, I think it depends on the server you're on, or the server group, but the amount of advertisements over there are just ridiculous. Like it want to sell and like website stuff. Like it's not even like, hey, we'll carry you for gold. Like it is full on real money trading. Like go to this website, put in your credit card, and we'll run you through something. Which I don't know. Like uh, it's transmog. Like are there people really that like they're that, I don't know,
Hey,
unwilling to
I've
put in the
noticed,
work?
I've noticed this about WoW. It seems like, not to sound like a boomer, but ever since the introduction of that WoW token, it seems like things in this game have gotten more and more monetized. Of course, people were
Mm,
selling stuff before,
yeah.
but I swear the amount of stuff people sell these days is absolutely ludicrous. Um, I mean,
I
selling transmog runs on Legion Remix, my goodness.
Yeah. I feel like it's how do I put this? It was well before the token.
Yeah,
The only difference is the token removed the illegal gold selling, which was causing people to lose their accounts because they were poor and they wanted gold to just do stuff in game. Which it was probably also for transmog and collectibles and all that other stuff. Let's not lie. Um, but I feel like in the past decade, the number of like websites popping up all the time, websites going down, new website comes up to the next day, some sort of, and it's always a front of some boosting community where
yeah,
and they say it's for gold, but I guarantee you, like half the time you go into the LFG and there's usually at least three looking for groups that are just one person. Up front it says want to sell. In the description it has a website address, and there's a voice channel or the voice channel is active, where if you pop in there, they're going to tell you a whole bunch of other stuff, which probably includes a dollar value instead of a gold value. And that, it sickens me because it to me it ruins the game, the experience. Like when I go into LFG, I want to find people that want to play, not have to report a bunch of sellers, and then because that just wastes my time. And it's the only way I can get rid of them, so that I can go and find the people who actually are trying to find other friends to play or other gamers to game with. But then you have people where it's like, they sit in Dornigal, they sit in Stormwind, they sit in Orgrimmar or wherever, and they sit on these mounts, you know, actually all big and tough. It's like the person who buys like some classic muscle car and sits in a car show trying to acting like they were the ones that put in all the work and everything, when they just bought it the other day because they happen to have them, they had a bunch of money they could buy it, but they didn't
right.
rebuild it, they didn't do any of that. But here they are in a car show with a bunch of other motorheads that have probably put in thousands of hours to reclaim and bring this some classic car back to life and make it run smoothly. And like how does a person compare themselves face, it stands side by side, or like try to like put themselves off as if they did something they didn't do? Like that just throws me. I don't understand it. And it
Yeah,
just
and these sites are so shameless too, because I notice
mhm.
like if you search for anything WoW related on Google, like for instance, how to get the vicious saddle mount,
Yep.
you're one of the top results is going to be a boosting site.
Yep.
And it's going to be some AI generated article, you know,
You're not
and
wrong.
so I'm actually actively trying to combat this, by the way. Um,
Really?
I'm I'm
How are you doing that?
I want to start pumping out articles like that, like at the very least to have, I actually wrote an article over the weekend of the upcoming mounts in Midnight, PvP
Okay.
mounts for season 1, and some of the player housing rewards, that we I don't know if you seen the player housing PvP rewards yet?
No, I haven't. I heard that
I
they were
mean,
looking to put them in, but I hadn't seen them actually put something in.
Well, I wrote an article showing some of the new ones. I haven't posted this
Cool.
article anywhere, but
Mm.
I hope that people, when they search PvP rewards player housing, I hope they see this instead of some boosting site.
That'd be a good hope.
Yes.
So here, buddy, I have to ask you, like, so you script all the videos. You
Yep.
there's obviously other people, the voice actor that does it. You've done some on your own though, but then you produce the video afterwards to then post that video, right? And then you are regularly meeting with top rank ones to make sure, check on the meta, check if there's anything different, do the constant updates. Are you doing this for retail? You're doing this for mop, and now on top of all of that stuff, you're now wanting to write a whole bunch of articles. Do you
Yeah.
intend to sleep anytime?
I like making things,
Yeah, no, I hear
I
you.
like videos.
I hear you.
Um, I try to stay busy. Uh, with
I
any sort of like creative work, and I've always been like this where I like to move on to the next project. It's
Okay.
kind of a bad tendency of man. I'm kind of like one of those 80% completionists, which 80% I think is a good benchmark to aim for. If you can get something 80% done, 80% good,
Yeah.
it's pretty. You can be happy about it. But
Yeah.
I always like moving to the next thing. Um, I'm working on a very long video though right now. I don't know how it's those videos, those iceberg videos. They'll be like the NHL iceberg explained, and it'll be. Have you ever, do you know that format?
Not exactly, but I know the whole iceberg story where there's like the tip that you see, and then there's like just below the surface, and then there's like the monster of information below that.
Yeah. So I'm working on a PvP iceberg video, kind of starting at the tip with the stuff people know about PvP, the lore people might know, then working my way down to the bottom of the iceberg of the the deep cuts, the deep PvP lore,
Whoa.
um, you know, stuff like that. And it's
All
gonna
right.
be a pretty long video, so I'm gonna be working on that for probably the rest of the week at least.
Jeez.
Um,
That'd take me a year to do.
I work fast, kind of. Get
Apparently.
yeah, I need give me a Red Bull and I will crank it out.
Well, it does give you wings, so
That's right.
apparently it undoes writer's block too. Then I'll have to think about that. Wow, that's great. Okay, I just like, have you thought about? Are you doing this all yourself? Like, it's hands down, it has to be you, or are you getting other people to help with
So
articles?
with this article, for instance, I wrote this in, I basically had I wrote it in Google Docs and then I just sent it to Awaken, and Awaken formatted it and posted it on the article. Like he has to do
Oh,
all this other stuff to make it work with WordPress.
okay.
Um, And then with videos, I mean, I don't do the whole thing. I script. Sometimes I do the voiceover. But usually there's someone who will gather the clips.
Okay.
If I don't leave notes specifically for what clip I want, and then I don't do the editing at all.
Oh.
We have dedicated video editors.
Okay. I think you did the
Yeah. If
editing
I
too.
Oh no, that would be too much. That would be.
That's why I was like, when do you sleep?
No, yeah. Jeez, no, that would be crazy. Because the editing takes just as long as the voiceover and stuff. I'm sorry, the scripting.
Yeah,
It's a pretty lengthy process to make a video,
I know.
start to finish.
You used to it, when we're just doing the podcast, just doing the audio when we were starting. Actually, no, more than when we were just like the first 3 years. I think it took 1.5 times the time to edit the audio than it was to record. So
Yeah,
for every hour, it took me an hour and a half to edit.
yeah. My general rule of thumb for videos is for every 1 minute of video, that's about an hour of work total. Like,
Wow. Yeah.
um,
I can
So
see that.
yeah, I had a video pop off 2 days ago. I don't know if you saw my greatest WoW PvPers of
I
all time
did.
video.
I did. That was
That was
that was good. I do agree with Snuts being best of all time. He is the
yeah,
goat.
and I was lucky enough to have Vinaruki watch it on stream, and he said something that I appreciated. He says, "This is an impossible video to make."
Yep.
Because it is. I mean, it's hard to say who the greatest of anything is,
Yeah.
especially WoW. But I try to get, I try to give as many good mention, like
Hmm.
big mentions as I possibly could. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
there are some people I left out, some people I completely forgot about in hindsight, but
Sure.
it's there was only so much. I had time on a time. I'm on a schedule. I have to start making the next video, so I can't, you know,
Yeah.
include everyone.
Well, I think in that way, it's actually one of the easier videos to make is because it's just your opinion, right? So like you could crank out and
Yeah,
say, "This is who I think is the greatest of all time," and there'll be a bunch of people that disagree with you. And really, the answer to them is, "Well, then make your own video then. Like, explain
yeah,
your point. Why do you think that person is?" Right?
exactly.
So in that way, I think it's probably one of the easier videos. But I mean, in the scheme of compared to like a video that talks all about the technical sides of a spec and how it plays, that's probably a lot easier to make than a video that is totally of your opinion and could easily end up with the uproar of the internet, which is not a comfortable
Yeah,
is not a comfortable place to be.
and especially something is weird about the WoW community where they're very hostile to certain things. It's very
Yeah.
unusual to me.
Yeah.
Because like for instance, the only other game I really follow closely is Super Smash Bros.
Hmm.
And what's like so interesting about Super Smash Bros. Is they have like they have this culture of content creation, and
Okay.
this culture of tier lists. I mean, it's kind of ingrained into their community, and they people in Smash Bros. All agree who the best players are. But
Okay.
WoW is such an interesting game, and I think it's because there's so many different ways to play PvP
Yeah.
that you could easily have a disagreement on the greatest PvPer of all time
Hmm.
based on how you play the game. Like my video is obviously very arena
Yeah.
centric.
Yeah.
Um, and so if you're a BG player or RBG player, BG Blitz player, like you're gonna have
Yeah.
completely different opinions.
Totally.
Um, and yeah, so but yeah, I try to be very careful making this video because I knew that people would have very strong feelings about
Yeah.
the greatest of all time. Yeah, and it's
I
it's
think
it's it's impossible.
I think if you really wanted to cause an uproar, is um, point out the fact that how many great AWC players in NA are Canadian.
Yeah, that's always been a. I remember that was like a joke a long time ago because there is that period where Snuts, Azael, and Vinruki were all
Yep,
actively competing, and they're all Canadian, and it's like the joke was like, well, the Canadians have the best casters in the game.
they do. It's fun. The argument I believe was the reason why Canadians are so good is because our winters are so cold that we need something to do for the 3-4 months that we're
Well,
stuck inside.
yeah, I've heard that same idea expressed about Nordic people because
Yeah,
Nordic people are always, you know, good at video games. It seems.
yeah,
I mean, Waz is, I believe, he's Danish.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. We got
and
Zico's, right?
yeah, and Raikou is Swedish, and
Yeah,
Zico is Swedish, and Mez Finnish, I think. And same thing. It's like, well, what do you do when it gets cold? Well, you make techno music and you play games. you know.
yeah. Or you go to the sauna and then jump in a snowbank. It's
That's right.
no, it's it's interesting. I find that that's one of the great things about WoW though is that you have these people from different different areas of the world, different forms of life, different backgrounds, but then they all play, and it's all, all that kind of melts away, and then you just end up with the whole orc versus human thing, and then and
Yeah.
then it becomes a whole different battle. It's not, I don't like you because you come from a different place of the world that I don't understand. It's, I don't like you because you decided to pick Horde versus Alliance, and therefore I must kill you. Are you sent into the
Yeah.
arena? Therefore you shall die. It's yeah,
I think video games are this like neutralizer,
yeah,
it's otherworldly.
true. I will say I agree that the WoW community never ceases to surprise me, how vehemently they will try to stand up, or or win over the person that they simp for the most, the creator that they like the most, that person's the best, and but
Yeah.
also it's this whole, that whole, you can't understand the other person's point of view. There's no acceptance of it. It's winning or losing. There's no just accepting somebody else's point of view and be okay with it. And I think that's one thing. It's almost like it's just the internet culture, I thought, but it does seem to be stronger in Warcraft, and
Well,
I'm not sure why.
I was really disappointed by this thread that was posted on the World of PvP subreddit. It was actually by someone in the Skill Cap Discord. They posted that they got 2400,
Mm-hmm.
and they kind of had some bullet points of their experience getting 2400. What they thought as someone who was kind of newer to WoW,
Yep.
and they brought up a bunch of good points, and they weren't trying to be trying to brag or anything. They're just
Yep.
talking about their experience, but guess what spec they main Ret Paladin, and so all the comments were trying to tear
Yeah.
this person down because
Yep.
they got their achievement as a Ret Paladin. I was like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
Like,
You got carried by your class. Yeah.
yeah. And that's just come
I
on.
hate
Like,
that. Yep. Well, and not to toot my own horn, but that kind of goes to that I think we talked about a little while ago, but the whole Twitter thing that I was on about how, you know anybody who makes rank 1 or gladiator, hero, legendary, like, it doesn't matter which bracket, being that top 1% or higher, like, kudos to you. That's a lot of hard work. Even getting gladiator in threes, like, that's a lot of hard work.
yeah.
And like, I think, kudos, give you props for doing that. It's not that one is really any better than the other, I think, but there's always this need of, like, no, my thing is better, and always it goes back to the threes, and the substantiation being, well, Blizzard made it important, so therefore it's more important. It's like, no, I mean, Blizzard makes a bunch of mistakes.
Yeah.
We just don't follow it. Like,
Yeah, I wish people would just be more open to, you know, appreciate
yeah,
the other ways people play this game.
totally.
Um, because, my goodness, I mean, I've been even having these experiences on RP servers. I mean, there are people, there's some people I respect on RP servers who, they may not be the best PvPers, but at least they're kind of, doing something interesting, doing something fun, doing something novel.
Yep,
Um, and we should be celebrating that.
totally agree. Yeah. Uh, I will say, when I'm considering circles an RP server, so when I'm out in the world, I end up getting world synced to other RP servers, and inherently, like, I'll be out just doing world quests, and I'll come across some group of enemy players from, like, Moonguard, or um, Worm Rusted Cord is a big one that we sync up with. I always end up getting stomped by a bunch of Worm Rusted Cord players that are out running around, just killing enemy players. And it's like, okay, you got me,
Well, speaking of
but
Worm Rest Accord, we valiantly defended Stormwind yesterday against
well
the
done.
Iron Wolf clan, I believe they're called on Worm Rest Accord.
Ah,
Um,
well done.
but goodness, it was laggy. Like that was the laggiest I've ever seen Moonguard,
No,
uh, with 40 people in the auction house fighting each other. It
that must
was
have been a lot of particles.
yes.
And that again, it makes me worried about Midnight and that new world zone. Like everybody doing world PvP in the world zone, plus the epic
Well,
BG. Like,
maybe this would be a good segue to potentially tell our audience that we might have an RP PvP episode um,
yes.
at some point, because what my guild is worried about is our is player housing and how that
Mm-hmm.
might affect world PvP or even just RP in general.
Yep.
Because right now, like going Moonguard or whatever, like Stormwind is the hub for RP. But
Mm-hmm.
if now you have everyone in their houses or in their neighborhoods, how is that going to affect the RP dynamic? I mean, I think neighborhoods seem quite interesting for RP,
Mm-hmm.
but well, what's going to happen to cities is kind of a bit unclear at this point. And then yeah, what's going to happen to world PvP is also a bit unclear.
Yeah, I feel like the player housing in the neighborhoods is going to have a similar effect on the major cities that garrisons did. Well, but because there's no farming, there's no mining, there's no gathering or power at the neighborhoods, I don't think it's going to be quite the same effect. But we're probably going to see a dip, depending
Yeah.
on times. I did hear didn't I hear? I thought I heard somewhere that there was like with the PTR test they just did that there were some issues with guild neighborhoods and the guild and how the guild master could help work that. And there's still some glitches there, so I think there's still some stuff they have to work out if I'm not mistaken. But hopefully they do another test because I think there's more testing that needs to be done. There's still some bugs that need to be worked out on the player housing. And
Yeah, for a while you could steal other people's houses. You could just yoink them and put them on your plot.
well,
Uh,
that's some true RP there. That's
and I've been
where's
seeing
my
a lot.
house, dude? Where'd I park my house?
Yeah,
That's funny.
I've been seeing people. I think evidently you could have like cows or something in your plot of land too, or
Yeah,
something.
I
And
saw something about that. Yeah, you have your have animals and well, they said that they're gonna have. I don't think it's gonna be with midnight, but it was definitely gonna be in the future. But they're thinking about doing like a hitching post where you could put some of your mounts and they're hitched outside and have some of your creatures running around. Player pets like your hunter pets, no, but definitely have your mounts and your companions and be able to show them off there. Um, I just want to cap this off because I think we're coming up to the hour already. This has been a fun conversation, but
Mhm.
I want to throw this one to you. So Conquest got uncapped today. So now we
Yeah,
have Conquest boxes. It's also BG week, so great week for farming. And I saw this on one of the Discord servers, and here is a person. It's middle of the season. All this is just unlocked, and they're like, I want to get into PvP, but I have like they're like, what's my choice? Do I like, is my only choice to walk into battlegrounds and just get completely thunderstomped because I'm under geared until finally I farm enough honor to then get honor gear to then go into something? And there's some great suggestions there, but I'm just saying, like, from your perspective, Big, if somebody came up to you and said, "Hi, you know, I haven't been playing all this season. I want to jump in now." What would you tell them? Like, how should they go about getting themselves at least geared enough so that they can stand, maybe not toe to toe, but at least not just completely crumple?
I think it really depends how much friction you want to have and how much time you're willing to invest. Because I think the most frictionless way to get geared is probably do the crate farming,
Yep.
but that's going to take probably the most time. But you have to weigh that also with the fact that if you were to, for instance, play arena or try to get grind honor in BGs, I mean, you might potentially lose, and so that's kind of a
Mhm.
waste of time too. I would say honestly, probably crate farming. Maybe go to the
Interesting.
auction house and buy the starter honor gear,
Yeah.
and you know, join a crate farming group. But yeah, it's hard, right? It's such a pain in the butt because I just went through this experience with my alt Resto Druid.
Okay.
Um, Recently got to level 80. Um, was able to transfer over honor from my other characters. But then it's like, well, I still don't have my tier set. I still don't have
Mhm.
my weapon. And so I queued like a solo shuffle. It was really miserable. And I just, I personally just asked my friends to do 2v2. I think that's if you have the ability to play 2v2 and someone can, basically carry your, carry your character until you get the conquest weapon, that's probably the best way if you don't want to do the crate farming.
Interesting. I guess that's the thing. Also, I didn't even think about asking the person, but I never asked them, but they had friends that they could ask for to help out because that,
Yeah.
you know, obviously that's probably the best way to do it in a way. Um, so I was suggesting doing the weekly quests, the PvP quests, because there's
Hmm.
always the one that's like do the sparks, which I mean honestly you don't even have to PvP for. You can just go into the zone and do the world quests and maybe farm some of the disturbed dirt or
Yeah.
some chests or whatever, and you get enough sparks to do that. But I suggested that they do a bunch of world quests with war mode on and just farm a whole bunch of the war mode, the bloody tokens, and get the war mode gear because it's
Yeah.
purple and it's 710. I want to say 710, 720. It scales up pretty evenly.
Y-
So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what
And
my
then
suggestion
also,
was.
that's a
Mhm.
good suggestion. I mean, the other important thing too is just crafting your three pieces of jewelry pretty, once
Yes.
you get that quest.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true.
yeah, for me the biggest pain in the butt is just getting to the weapon. Once you get the weapon, I feel like things become a bit easier.
Agreed.
You have more confidence playing shuffle or blitz. But yeah, getting that weapon is and the true place of friction.
Yeah, I guess in that you could just do the crate farming for that, but it's just I mean, yeah, it depends on just turn your brain off and just throw Netflix up
I,
on some screen and just
yeah,
fly around.
I'm not a fan
Yeah,
of crate farming. Like
no,
a lot of people insist and swear by it, but
yeah,
that's just not how I enjoy playing WoW. I don't want
no,
to play a taxi simulator. I want to
no.
I want to fight.
I did it on my prop paladin because I didn't want to learn how to play red. I didn't want to learn how to do holy at the time, and I needed the 7,500 honor to get the PvP because he's my jewel crafter. So I wanted to get the PvP crafting amulet and ring, and so I did that, and I regret it. It was so mundane. And then I want to say I did it recently on my Havoc because I I did not enjoy queuing into shuffle at the moment. It was just too hectic, and
Yeah.
it was just a frictionless way. Like I think I was watching YouTube videos on my one screen, and I was just flying around and picking up. But it was fun because we ran into some opposing horde uh, crate farming groups, and so there was actually some world PvP that happened, which is kind of fun. It was like raid versus raid, which was really fun.
You know,
Um,
before I forget, I know we're coming up on time, but speaking of gear, Zenlin on stream did this challenge where he climbed from 1K solo shuffle MMR all the way up to 2600. How he got to 1K was a bit weird, but don't worry too much about it. But anyway, what was interesting is that lower ratings, people have gear, but they have like the wrong gear.
Hmm.
Um, like there was a ret paladin he had in his lobby who didn't use the two set trinket bonus. You know, they had like a PvP medallion, then they had a random PvE trinket in the second slot. Virtually no one has tier sets. It seems like people don't know about the catalyst. Um,
See
so
that?
there was this holy paladin who was wearing like a strength full arm. You know, it was all sorts of stuff, and you know, we talked about this last time. Like maybe the
Yeah.
gearing system is a bit tricky. You know, unintuitive for a new player.
Yeah.
My goodness, like it's kind of if you haven't been playing all this time, I mean, it is kind of confusing.
I guess. I guess it's just a matter of like if the person just was playing and like they just did a delve and they got a weapon and it happened to have a higher item level. Like maybe they just look at the item level and just slap it on. Think and like,
Yeah,
well, it's strength. I'm a paladin. I need strength because wacky wacky. Not thinking that no, you're a holy paladin and you need mana to cast holy spells.
yep,
Like I could, but I think again back to the diversity of the player base. Like you could be in a lobby with an 8-year old. Actually, you could be in a lobby with an 8-year old or an 80-year-old and
yeah,
everybody in between, right?
that's true.
Like there's people that play the game that have very high IQs, and there's people that play the game that don't have very high IQs, and but that's okay. Like I think that's the part where, um, as far as the game goes, that's where the ratings, that's where the ladders, that's where all that other stuff kind of sorts it out, right? So if you are queuing into a low rated lobby, don't expect that the person you're playing with has any idea about mechanics, right?
Right.
No different
Yeah.
than, you know, I always used to love like you queue into a battleground and there's some person that's yelling in like total caps, calling everybody idiots because they're not doing the strat. It's like, who are you?
Well,
It's a
there's
random
this
battleground.
there's a series on YouTube right now. This guy who's trying to get Gladiator as a completely new player to WoW. I can link it to you, but
Yeah, please.
uh, he's on like episode 2. He
Okay.
kind of starts learning about the gearing system in PvP, and he expresses frustration that he goes into these battlegrounds and you get this one person just yapping the whole time, complaining and
Yep.
saying how everyone on his team is bad. But then he's like, "Man, everyone on our team's under geared. Like
Yep.
we're playing against a pre-made, and they all
Yep.
have 20 million HP. We have 10 million. Like,
Yep.
calm down, man. Like, jeez."
Yeah. Yeah. There are people that they go to the base and they AFK, right? And they get sat capped, right? Even
Yep.
even by the bots, like they get sat capped. Like
Yes.
it is what it is. Even like I remember back when I used to raid a battleground a lot, and I'd get caught. Like I'd be flipping through, I'd be looking at the map, or I'd be flipping through, looking through battleground enemies and seeing where people are, and suddenly boom, you know all of a sudden I hear and I look up and my flag just and I see the and there goes the rogue. I'm like, god damn it. Yeah, I served me right looking at the map. That was I think it was the fifth time that happened that I downloaded Reporter and started using that Reporter add-on. So anyway, uh final thoughts. What would you change?
What would I change? Well, I am admittedly worried about add-ons, as you might have noticed.
Yeah.
Um, and I really think they need to, on the alpha, incorporate some type of big debuffs into the default UI. Um, I'm really worried about that as a healer, as a Resto Druid,
Yep.
because right now, with the default frames, they only can show 4 buffs, which is a problem as a Resto Druid with more than 4 hots, and so little bit concerned about that. So I want to see some progress in the next few weeks on the raid frames and buff visibility. That's what I would change.
That's fair. You're not worried about Omni CD and tracking kicks?
Oh, I am also I'm worried about tracking kicks too. That's it. To me, if they put big debuffs and kick tracking in the game, I'm anything else, fine, get rid of it. But I want those two things.
Did you sidebar back to the AWC? Did you see there is I'm trying to remember what the matchup was, but I want to say Zico really highlighted it. Is the priest everybody was going down and they just like they're getting targeted on, and they just started spam flash healing themselves, and they're like, oh my gosh, like that's really brave. And they're like, no wait, all the kicks are out, there's no kicks. They were able to quickly tell that they were safe to cast. They're like,
Yeah.
any other player would have done something differently, but because this one player was able to just quickly assess the situation and knew that they were safe to cast, they just free casted and were able to keep the game going. And I want to say that will not happen if we don't have the ability to track kicks into midnight, because
Yeah, I really hope they allow kick tracking at the very least.
I'm going to go controversial, and I would change. I'm going to add PvP back into the vault, but I'm going to add it on the Mythic Plus tier. So you have a choice of Mythic Plus dungeons or PvP conquest farming. Will get you RNG in that tier. But on the flip side to that, that also means that Mythic Plus players have a chance of getting PvP gear instead of PvE gear out of their vault.
Ooh. That's spicy. That is a spicy suggestion.
But I mean, no different than on the PvP tier. Like, we were getting PvE gear that nobody wanted.
Yeah, that's right.
So, yeah, why not? Why not? All right, buddy. Shout out to you. Who do you want to shout out?
That's a good question. Who do I want to shout out? Um,
Any Andys you can think of?
I'm gonna shout out Vinruki just because he's a good guy. I'm giving a shout
Uh,
out to Vinruki.
all right. I'm going to shout out, actually. This is because we were talking about this just the other day. I'm going to shout out Solitary Pop. So if anybody doesn't know, Solitary Pop is a YouTube streamer, does Battlegrounds, and I've enjoyed his content when I review it. I can't say I watch it religiously, but I do enjoy it most of the time. So I'm gonna give Solitary Pop a shout out for making content, and I'm pretty sure it's just like random BG and like some pre-made stuff and that, but it's not. I don't believe it's super sweaty rated BG stuff. So, but it's fun.
Nice.
Anyways, Big, why don't you tell everybody where they can find us?
I'll do that. You can contact us directly on X at technically_PvP or on Blue Sky at technicallypvp.bluesky.social or by an email to technicallypvp@gmail.com. You can also join our discussions on the Bonus Roll Productions Discord.
Indeed. Also, you can visit the Bonus Roll website to find the podcast directory with us and many other great shows over at www.bonusroll.gg. And there's a directory. The directory has a review system. So head on over there. Tell everybody what you think of your favorite shows. And drop some reviews. Always helps them know. And don't forget, on top of that, like, go to wherever you listen to the podcast and react, subscribe, give a heart, maybe give a comment, give some stars, whatever it is. It helps the metrics. It helps the algorithms. So, and honestly, if you do it for us, it helps us. So thank you. Anyways, links. Well, I might put some links in the show notes. We'll see. But on that, I want to thank you all for listening, and we'll chat with you next time. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Oops. There.